Hi, Marnie. Keen Russian observers tell me that Presidents Biden and Putin are simply playing different games. Mr. Biden still believes in the idea of international norms and agrees to them and abides by them. Mr. Putin clearly does not. Put it another way, Biden is a boxer, Putin is a cage fighter.
They came to the Congress with political demands. Isn't that persecution for political opinions?
In anticipation of Mr. Biden pressing the Russian president on the fate of an anti-Putin journalist, the former KGB officer flipped the script, referencing the January 6th Capitol riots, and Russian state TV ate it up, reportedly portraying accused Capitol insurrectionist Richard Bennett as an innocent victim of government persecution.
If he chooses not to cooperate and acts in a way that he has in the past relative to cybersecurity and some other activities, then we will respond. We will respond in kind.
Part of Mr. Biden's discussions at NATO headquarters focused on Russian cyber attacks that crippled American infrastructure. But Putin has an answer for that, too.
We have been accused of all kinds of things, election interference, cyber attacks, and so on and so forth. And not one time did they bother to produce any kind of evidence or proof, just unfounded accusations.
Right now, about 36 hours away from this meeting. And typically, Marnie, now is when we would be seeing the diplomatic niceties, or at least a détente. And instead, we're seeing this long list of grievances from both sides about what they don't like about the other side. So far, there is a moment of agreement here in Geneva between the two delegations, which is that American-Russian relations are about as bad as they've ever been.
Contentious, an understatement. Leland, in addition to that Putin meeting, there are major concerns tonight about China's growing military capabilities, more recently the country's expansion of its nuclear arsenal. How does the president plan to lead that discussion?
Well, that was a big part of the meetings, both at the G7 in Cornwall, England, and then also at NATO headquarters as well. And remember that there's a lot of different American allies who have very different relationships with China. And NATO came out and said they view that China presents challenges and that Russia presents a threat. But you got to look at everything in this foreign trip, and the Secretary of State, among others, will tell you this, leading up to this meeting with Vladimir Putin on Wednesday, because it is no secret that the Russians and the Chinese both like to use each other as foils when trying to play off the Americans, then also play off other American allies to try and divide us, if you will, with other Western Europe allies, and certainly with a country like Australia and like with New Zealand. So it is a very delicate dance, and one in which the president has to walk this line, President Biden that is, of being able to confront Putin without so much as emboldening Putin and allowing Putin to run to Beijing and help them, and vice versa.
Yeah, Russia always part of the conversation. Leland Vittert live for us in Geneva tonight. Leland, thank you.